So today we have Trisha Keiser. She is with Camp Sonshine, and we're very excited to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to be a speaker. Well, Trisha, I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I am a former camp counselor, so nice. In my college years, nice. Spent 2 summers at 2 different camps, 2 very different camps. So the floor is yours, so we'd love to hear more about it.
Okay, has anyone ever been out to Camp Sonshine before? I know you two. All right, so a new crowd, this is awesome. So, okay, well, I'll just tell you a little bit about my story, and feel free to jump in if you have a question or I say something that doesn't make sense or whatnot. But I met my husband in college, and he was working at a summer camp and got hired on out in Washington, D.C. as one of the directors out there to run a camp in the summertime. And so when we got married, I moved out there to join him, and I was like, camp is your thing. Even though I'm the one that grew up going to camp, I loved camp. It was a big part of my life. That was his thing. I was looking for a different job in the D.C. area. And nothing ever came up, just perfect. But of course, they are always need people. So they sucked me into the office, and thus began my camp career. So as my husband and I were working at a camp out in DC together, the camp had about 4,000 campers a day. So out on the coast, a lot of people use summer camp as childcare instead of sending them inside somewhere. So kids are outside getting dirty, and this is faith-based camps, also learning about Jesus with positive role models. We loved what we were doing. I ran the first summer. I was like making copies, and they didn't let me stay there long. It was wonderful. I was like, it's just so fun. I'm just making copies for all these people and taking stuff places. I loved it. So then soon they had a position in there to oversee their offices, to oversee like the finance and database and customer service office. And I really, so they put me in that position. I was like, I'm not that person. I'm out there doing things. I'm out there with the kids. I'm not the, I'm right out of college. I'm not leading people, right? I just want to be out there with the kids and doing stuff. And they're like, no, you're what we need. And the office kind of had a little bit of a toxic environment. It was very kind of a typical like crabby office ladies. No, none of us in here are like that, I know, but where you kind of get critical about everything, and they just wanted someone that had a fresh outlook and optimistic. So I became the office person, and totally different for me. But and during that experience and kind of learning all the ins and outs, my husband and I find ourselves in these director meetings, and we're like, had all these ideas of things that we wanted to do differently. And we thought they were pretty good ideas. We were like, I think this would work really well. But everyone's kind of like, nope, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. And just marching on to this is how we do it. And so we kind of sat back and kind of started getting this little bit of discontentment of like, I don't know, what if we did this? I think we could do this, and I'd like to try it. And that sort of thing. So I grew up here in just outside of Lincoln on the farm. And when we found out we were expecting our first child, and we're in Washington, D.C., inside the Beltway, like the police helicopters looking for people, we were like, I don't know, this might be a great time to leave D.C. and try something new and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where like that discontentment kind of came in. And we felt like my husband ran a satellite program. So I said this camp has like 4,000 kids a day. Well, their satellite camp had about 150 a day, and he ran that. So he got to see all the different aspects of what it would take being off-site to kind of do semi your own thing. And then I was overseeing upset parents. I was overseeing the financial office and database. So I knew a little bit of all these different things. So we went to our directors who love the Lord and ultimately were holding people loosely, and asked if we could, with their blessing, kind of duplicate what we had been seeing and go start our own program in Nebraska. And not only was he like, yes, how can we help? They were just so generous to send us out with like a go-kart and a moon bounce. Like, you can't have camp without a big moon bounce for the kids to jump in. And even like, what kind of documents or things would you need? And I'm like, yeah, can I just download all this stuff? So we were really fortunate to have such a good model of what was working, and be able to kind of start with that base. And then be able, obviously we had all these ideas that we wanted to incorporate. So that's kind of how we kind of came here to start Camp Sonshine on the farm. I have, let's see. So I should have brought out more pictures, because this is the farm, this one right here. This doesn't have like a pointer thing, but that's what it looked like when we arrived. So my husband's parents came to visit that first Thanksgiving. Actually, it was right about this time. And her exact words were, "So you think this is a safe place for children?" And we were like, yeah, totally. Like, what we saw was totally different. Like, even looking back, I'm like, really? It looked like that? Like, I see some of those pictures of what the farm looked like, and it doesn't even register, because I never saw that. Like, I saw what it could be. So then this picture of the red barn, that is the same barn. It's just got some paint on it and a logo. It didn't take that. I mean, I don't know. Even now, like, I'll drive by like an old farm or an old thing, and I'll be like, oh, I could totally just want to fix that up and make that so cute. That would be so fun. So anyway, that's kind of where Camp Sonshine, and then the brown barn there is was our newest building. So I dug back to some presentations where we had a timeline, so I thought, well, I'll just kind of go through that and share kind of how camp got to where it is today. And I don't know, any questions? Anything? Okay.
Well, it sounds like you really came to Nebraska with a very entrepreneurial mindset of, you have all these great ideas, and but you were also part of a ecosystem that provided you with, that was okay with sharing things, which I think is something that's very special about entrepreneurs. We're not afraid to share things.
Absolutely.
And people are okay with us doing that. So
right.
Otherwise, it might have taken you longer to get where you were.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really great point. So yeah, we're really grateful for that, and people working together, and there's not competition in that, So, and especially when you're talking about ministry and kids, like, there's a lot of kids like there's a lot of kids that need to be impacted. So in 2007, so we had that old barn that we put a coat of red paint on it, and then we bought a white party tent. So we had no indoor. We were in the middle of a cornfield, and we had this white party tent, and we started just praying, and we started talking to people. My husband and I did a lot of side jobs, like you want someone to paint your kitchen? I'm there. Like, how much? Like, I'll mow your yard, I'll do whatever. So we were doing all sorts of, actually, this is something I hadn't thought about for a while. We started a side business to fund our main ministry. We did personalized kids CDs. Have you guys seen those, like VeggieTales and like the Disney princess sing songs with your kid's name in it? And so we bought the software and the computer and a printer to do the label, and we would go to these fairs on the weekends, and we'd sell, but we'd go, like Clorinda Iowa, and Odell, Nebraska, or Kansas. Is that in Kansas? Is that Nebraska? I don't know. It's that way. But we would go for a weekend and make enough money to feed our family and pay our rent for the month, and then we could just work on camp. So I totally forgot about that. Like that funded us. Like that sustained us while we started this for probably 5 years before we were really like making. But we would just do that on the weekends, and it wasn't really that much fun. but my mom watched our baby, and off we went, and we went to like the fairs. We went to like the Indiana State Fair and just sold a whole bunch of CDs, and we were like, we could just work on camp for like the next 6 months, like without worry. So anyway, that's just kind of a random thought I just thought of. But anyway, that first summer, we needed that tent, so that was our first purchase. And we weren't having kids sign up for camp. I mean, we had like no one. Like my nieces and nephews, I have like 10 of them. So that was good. Had a few cousins and a few friends of theirs that like trusted them enough. But even my family wasn't like, I was like, can you tell your kids' friends? Bring them. We're gonna have so much fun. And they're kind of like, yeah, we'll see you there. So like we just were not having anyone sign up. And we were just praying and seeking like what we were supposed to do next. And we got a call from City Impact, and we had a connection there. Actually, my husband was kind of thinking they were hiring. He was like, maybe I should work there. That kind of fits me, you know? So he went to interview, and he was like, no, this clearly doesn't fit me, but he told them what we were doing. And so then they were like, oh, we could totally send kids to camp. That would be awesome. So that first summer, City Impact sent 40 campers one of our weeks. And those kids getting outside and like playing with frogs, we scrapped the whole program. Halfway through the week, we were like, it's gonna be Frog Olympics. And we made like little races, and we made all these things, but like we literally played with frogs for days. Like that's what they wanted to do, and we just went with it. But anyway, that whole summer we had 98 campers, and 40 of them were from City Impact. So that was pretty cool how God provided, and it was an awesome experience for them, and it was helpful for us as we were getting going. But that first week of camp, we had 12 campers. So after that week and the kids coming and having a great time, they started telling their friends, and then things just started growing. So total of 98 campers our first summer, and then our second summer we had 210, and that's over the course of the summer. So we're talking like, you know, a group of 20 or whatnot. We had like 3 staff, and we were as happy as can be. We paid our staff like a little stipend, but we fed them really well. My mom's a really good cook, and she lives nearby. So that was fun. Then in 2009, we went to 388 campers. We started a leader in training program. We were like, okay, these campers have been coming to camp now for a couple years, and the older ones want to help. So let's help them start to develop and help the younger ones and that sort of thing. In 2010, we had 637 campers, and then we got a little portable classroom. The St. Michael's Church had like a little school, like a little modular over by, I don't even know where that is now, by where Tractor Supply is. I don't know the name of that little community. Cheney, thank you, that's it. So they gave it to us. We just had to pay to get it moved. And that was like our first indoor space in 2010. So anyway, God just kept, in 2011, we started going to Mexico. We had someone reach out to us that was working in a community, and he was training pastors and doing all this other stuff, and he's like, we need something for the kids. Can you help us get something started? So we took a group of our staff to Mexico and did a week of camp, and we're going back in this January, and it'll be our 13th trip down there. So we've just been doing that and kind of created, we're working on our third location now of just creating just little camps in Mexico, which is fun. So anyway, yeah, the camp kept growing. We kept having people say, you need a home, you need a space. When it would rain and stuff, kids would just come into our house. We had a little farmhouse and we would just pile them in, and it was fine, but to grow and to get bigger, we needed a bigger space. So that's when we built that barn there. And our first summer in there was 2014. So I think one of the things as I think about as like the business and the ministry grew, where I think about is we were really careful not to get too far ahead of ourselves. It did seem like things grew quickly because there was a niche, there was a need for it. Like there was a demand for it in the community and people were coming, and every summer we've had a waiting list. So we've never, had to do too much marketing to just like keep up, like so people know we're still here. Like if you're not in the camp magazine or with all the other camps listed, they're like, oh, Camp Sonshine must not be here anymore. So we try to do all those things, but a lot of it was just word of mouth and giving the kids a really great experience. But not kind of getting ahead of ourselves. I think it was in 2014 where we got a call from a camp program down the road from us that had closed its doors. They had kind of started, and then it didn't take off, and they wanted to sell the property. So we went to look at it. They wanted $3.5 million for it. It's 100 acres and a really beautiful building, like nothing we would have ever done, but it was like it's there and it's a nice sturdy building, and we were growing, and we had kind of been feeling like we want to expand and have a new program, but we're like that just didn't seem wise for us at the time. We were still pretty small, had just 1,500 campers in the summertime. So we turned that down, and then literally the next day got a phone call about a different camp property that was near Firth, Nebraska, that was in sort of the same situation, except that property was given to them. It was a camp, but that property had been given to them, and so they just wanted it to be used for kids and for ministry, so they just donated that property to us. So that's
huh?
just like, thinking about that decision, and we kind of wrestled with it, of like, it's so close, it's so this, but yeah, so, I would chalk that up to the Lord, to like totally providing that. So we started that camp in 2015, and that's an overnight camp. So we have 2 dorms, and a kitchen and a big rec space inside, a pond to fish and that type of thing. So anyway, I guess I'll just keep trucking on. And this what you want? This
Yes,
good? Okay. I'm like, I don't want to bore you either.
Trisha,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your envisioning process and your branding process. And you said a minute ago about not getting too far ahead of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to say it straight out, how the Lord kept guiding you
Yeah.
through that, but at the same time allowed you to vision.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. We worked with John during this time.
That's not why I asked.
No. I think we were right during this time.
Well, just a little before that.
A little before that.
The first time when you came out to your place was at the house.
Yeah.
You had 2 kids at
Yes.
an office, and you had campers in there.
Yes.
In that tiny house.
Yeah.
That's the first place we met. So I think it was slightly before you got the second camp.
Okay.
Like 2012.
Yeah. I think for us, we were just kind of like chugging along, and all of a sudden, like, there was this need in there, and we realized, okay, we need to get ourselves ahead of the organization because we're young. I mean, we have staff now that are the age we were when we started, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is how old we were, and we were making like real decisions. Like, so we had to really grow ourselves as leaders and kind of figure out what we needed to learn to kind of get ahead of it, so that we didn't have to hire someone to manage us because we really liked that we have a lot of ideas and things we want to do this way. That's why that is a big part of why we started our own thing. So we need to learn and grow. So we did seek out help to kind of grow us, and that's when we got involved with leadership resources for a time, and really trying to figure out, okay, what is it that we're doing well? Like, why are people coming? We have to identify what it is. And I know, like, that's, done at a different, when you start, that's done as well. But there's something different when you're having success and you're just trying to figure out, like, if what we set out to do is what we're doing, and if that's what's connecting with people, and identifying that so that we can duplicate that and do that more. Does that make sense? So that's really where a lot of it is when we started praying for, another site or something else to expand. We were really working on getting our processes in order and our mission and vision and stuff just really solid. And so that way, when something else came available, we were ready for that. So we've kind of been like in that process. And so when this other property came available for free, we were ready for that, and we could just go for it. So that did propel quite a bit of growth in the next few years. In 2017, we were over 2,000 campers. We took, there's so much detail in there, I don't want to get into the weeds. So I want to go to the next one, I think. Did that kind of take you where you wanted me to go?
No, what was always amazing, if I may, that when we did that first strat plan with you, we did a 3 to 5 year, you accomplished it in 18 months. That was the amazing thing. God
Right.
just kept taking you farther and faster.
Yeah.
But in a timely way.
Yeah, no, but I think it did go a lot faster than we had originally planned, even starting in 2007. Awesome. I'm going to skip that one. Okay, so I just to give you kind of a brief where we're at today. How are we doing on time? Am I doing all right? Okay. I'm just going to kind of go through where we are today, and then let you ask questions or whatnot. So our purpose and passion at Camp Sonshine is to create a place to belong and become. So what we identified as we interviewed campers, we interviewed staff, we interviewed camper parents, we just kept hearing this, I belong. It's just, I love how I belong here. And we just kept hearing that over and over. We even had someone do like a story video for us like way early. And we went back and listened to that, and she said it like 5 times in there. I just feel like I belong, and I've grown so much. Oh my gosh, so seeing that, so we just kind of like, okay, well, creating a place to belong and become, that is obviously what we did. And so let's do that more. How do we focus in on making sure that's the community and what we're creating? And ultimately, our passion is to unlock and unleash kingdom builders. So ultimately, we want those students that work at camp to discover this God-given talent inside of them and how they can use that for ministry in some way, and to go out and to duplicate that. So that's our passion and our purpose. Then we kind of went through with like, okay, what makes Camp Sonshine unique from going to another camp or another childcare program or that type of thing. So again, through surveys and all sorts of stuff, this is what we came up with, that we have 3 uniques. The first one is active supervision. So our counselors are not babysitters. Our counselors don't have their phones with them. They do not sit back and watch things happening to police. They are actively in the mix. So when we take your kids to the pool, our counselors are in the pool with them, swimming with them, supervising. The lifeguard can sit and watch, but we are playing with them and doing games and active in that. The second one is active imagination. So this needs to be different. I mean, this needs to be different than anything else. We need to get these kids' attention away from wanting to be home on their phones or on their devices or playing video games. We need to be playing and make believe and that sort of thing. So kids will come home with all sorts of stories from camp, and that's how it should be. You know, they come home talking about the dinosaur in the pond and why we don't jump in. You know, because there's a dinosaur in there and what. So we play and make believe a lot, and then we also feel like that helps kids imagine who they could be. You know, so a lot of our theme days are based around like what you could be, you know, and let them imagine and see themselves in a different place. And then active connection. So also with our world right now, and you know, there's a lot. Making connections is hard for kids, and even in schools, a big classroom, that type of thing, it can be hard. So we're helping kids. They're in a small group of 8 to 12, and they are learning each other's names and about them, and they're playing team building games, and they are coming together as a team. So they know that they are the purple princess butterflies, whatever, and they are kind to others, and here's how we're going to be kind to others, and that group can go out and do those types of things. So that's some of that active connection. So those kids don't ever not know where they're supposed to be there with that group, and they're making a connection. So Camp Sonshine, this is what I talked about. This is our first site. This is the farm. We're now calling it base camp. It's like this is the base camp. This is where we do our trainings and where things are all held out of that. We've put up this big like kind of lodge type barn that we have our offices in there, but then also just a place that this is our first like indoor rainy day shelter. So we had a place for them to come in and do skits and do stuff. And then it has a full basement that can be used as a storm shelter. We put in a pool, some outdoor pavilions, and then we just, I don't have a picture of it on here, but we just finished building a gym out there that now accommodates all the kids at once for a really hot day or rainy day. So Camp Solaris, this is the one I talked to you about that was given to us. That is an overnight camp. And we named that Camp Solaris because, so Sol is the Latin word for sun, so we wanted to connect to sunshine, so that's where we got the Solaris. But taking off of Polaris, which is the guiding light, we want Jesus to be the guiding light for these kids, so we're pointing them to Christ. So this is an overnight camp, and we have places for 100, I think we have 100 beds, just under 100 beds, I think, out there. And then there's some pictures. We put up a big aerial park, trying to draw. Now we have a big swimming pond that has a blob and that sort of things, all sorts of fun outdoor things. And then that original facility I was telling you about we looked at, that was $3.5 million, that we were like, can't do that. About 10 years later, that was still vacant, and during COVID, when we were trying to have as many kids, all these kids needed somewhere to go, and all these programs were closed, and they were looking to Camp Sonshine because we were outdoor based. So that's when we went back to this property so that we could offer programs for more kids, and we purchased it for 1.4 at that time. So, praise the Lord. So that one we named Shiloh, and then here's some pictures of the building. So Yeah, so that's right now. This last summer we put our 5th through 9th graders out there. So we are kind of putting like paintball and slingshots and just some things that draw the older kids. And then our teens also like travel to the other sites and do activities at the other sites as well. So yeah, that, and then I have a video of camp now, but that's kind of where we're at now. I don't know. Do you have questions?
I'm sure there's lots of questions. Sorry.
What's the youngest you take for volunteers to help the camp?
So how our programs work is we go through 9th grade with camper programs. 7th, 8th, and 9th can do a leader in training program that is helping them develop as leaders. Then when you're going into 10th grade, you can apply to volunteer. So that is an assistant counselor position. So usually 10th graders probably 15 ish. So that's when you can apply to volunteer for camp. Once you're in college or we've asked you to apply, so we do take students as long as they're at least 16, they can apply to work at camp. So we do hire students to then be our group counselors and that sort of thing. So 16 would be the youngest age. Most of them are college students. We do hire staff from all over the world. We had New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Zambia this summer. So. Yes.
Tim and Ted helped me long ago in the book, The 1 Minute Entrepreneur by Ken Blanchard, Don Hudson, and Ethan Willis reads that it's good to ask for advice. So do you seek counseling, advice, or membership like Tim and Ted helped me long ago?
So, like I mentioned with Leadership Resources and working with John back in, 2011 or something, 10 or 11. So that we definitely sought out. That, of course, there's lots of people along the way. We do have a board of directors. As founders, they're more of advisory instead of overseeing as much. But then more recent in 2019, when we kind of made this big jump. We started working with Stan Parker does this thing called Momentum, and he works with nonprofits, specifically faith-based nonprofits. So we've been working with him, who has been huge. When you go away and have a planning, you want to take your staff and you want to plan and dream and figure out where you're going. It was so nice to have someone else lead that. And Jeff and I were participants in that and could be a part of that. It was huge. So I think all along the way, there's been different people that have been where we're at. We, as camp people, when we take vacations, we visit camps. So we go to a lot of camps. We'll set up meetings with the directors. We'll ask questions. One specific camp, it was a huge camp, and they've done kind of what we're looking at doing, where they've done lots of different camps. He encouraged us, our operations are all covered through camper tuition. A lot of camps get kind of out of whack because it's a ministry and they have some churches supporting them, and so they start relying on that. So we were really clear early on that we wanted to have our operations all covered with, so what we're bringing in is our expenses, and we're not getting out of whack there, and relying on donated funds. We do have donated funds coming in to help us expand things, so buildings and stuff like that. But once the building's built, we can do ministry in it and provide a service for families, and that can pay for ongoing upkeep and that sort of thing. So that was some good advice.
This kind of goes along with that question. So when my son was in elementary school, our PTO every year we sent our 5th graders to a field trip. And I was wondering how that how field trips fit into your business model?
Yeah. So for a long time, we kind of would put that out there, and nobody, bit on that. But this last year, I think we had, actually 5th grade is the year that they come out now. So I think it's like Morley, Maxie, and maybe one other Wysong.
So, yeah.
You're Morley?
Yeah.
And do you guys came out in 5th grade or?
We did.
Oh, you did it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, COVID year, we,
Didn't, yeah.
I think several years before that, and then when my son was in 5th grade.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's starting to kind of catch on. So more and more schools are calling and they want the same day, and we're like, oh, they came first. So, we enjoy that because like it is just getting kids out, and that's what we do. And it's good exposure for them to want to come to summer camp and be there all week. So we enjoy doing them. It's just there's only so many days.
And so many people. Right? You have only so many people who can.
Yeah, staff. Yeah, staff. So I don't know that it's like a huge part of it, but I think it's more of exposure, marketing, and being able to offer that. We really enjoy. Yeah, enjoy doing those.
How much music do you put into your camps?
Incorporate. We do an assembly every morning, so they do songs and dances. The kids make up their own ones and that type of thing. So that's kind of the extent of it. So we've done, actually that was something that was on the timeline that I skipped over. We've done some different things that we don't do anymore that we kind of tried out. And I think that's a big thing with starting something is you try something and then you kind of prune and like, okay, we got a little off. So we started something with Alicia Reisinger, right? Anyway, she was doing some sort of like drama and music part, and we were like, oh, that would be so awesome. We should add that to our program. It could be like an elective the kids sign up for. And so we did that for a summer or two. And yeah, some kids really loved it. We also tried horses, like kids love horses, let's do horses. And kids like that, but it was like, it wasn't our main thing, and it kind of was a distraction, and it kind of our staff weren't able to do fully what we're doing well. And so we ended up, and we did that with a baseball thing too. So we've kind of tried some different things that we're like, okay, that's not exactly us. That works really well for them or for other programs, but we're actually need to just do what we do really well. And so we kind of pruned those, so.
Stay true to yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Trisha,
Yeah.
2 things. Share a little bit about what you do in off-summer season and how the spaces are used both for adults and other activity groups. And say a little bit more about what you're now doing internationally.
Okay, yeah, so, we're kind of like, we have all these spaces, and, year round we like for groups to be able to use them. So we do kind of rent out some of the different spaces for different things. At our base camp at Camp Sonshine, we mainly do our own programming, so we don't rent that out for many outside groups. That's mainly us leading things like the field trips, or like a birthday party or that type of thing. So we do a lot of that there. Internationally, we just started, we took a site visit. This is another huge long story, but we took a site visit to an organization that works in Zambia, and we're going to be launching a camp in April in Zambia that they then have they have their own vision for that, where we're going to help them launch it. They're sending staff here to be trained, and then they're going to run it. And they have a vision to go and do others in Africa. So we're just, starting that in April. So
then do you rent out your larger spaces that aren't at your base camp to the public?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
For weddings, whatever?
We don't do weddings.
Okay.
Yeah, not gonna go there. Like that was one of those pruning things
Was it?
where it's
Okay.
like, oh yeah, we could. And we're like, no, we need to stay what we are and do that. So we don't do weddings, but we'll rent them out for like, if a group wants to do team building, if they want to do some sort of outdoor stuff, we got you covered. So we have lots of different things like that.
Well, within men's ministry, there's a couple of things called Every Man a Warrior is one, and I don't know if anybody's reached out to you yet, and the other one is the Wild at Heart retreats.
Yes.
And your camp is perfect for that.
Yeah. We've done a lot of men's and women's retreats at Shiloh. I'll play our video, and then if you have questions to end with, and we'll go from there. So, okay, here.
It's by the keyboard.
Where? Oh, by the keyboard. Okay. Let's see.
I love Camp Sonshine. Woo! I step onto Camp Sonshine and I immediately feel 10 times better than I felt before. Anxiety is lower here and joy is larger.
You walk into camp and everyone understands, like, we're striving for unity and we're striving for fun and energy and joy.
Camp Sonshine is a collection of day and overnight camps. We have 3 locations in 2 different counties in the area for kids kindergarten through high school, and volunteer service opportunities for high school and college students, as well as paid summer staff.
I like that you get to learn about God.
You get to make new friends.
Camp Sonshine is a place where your kids can come and they're allowed to fail and they're allowed to mess up, but then they're constantly met with grace.
No kid's the outcast. Every kid is brought in and part of like group and lifted up. That's what I super enjoy about camp, is that every kid is part of the action.
Our heart and soul is to help kids find a place where they belong. When they feel that they belong to this group and they're connected and they're free from bullying, we find that they're able to become who God's created them to be.
My favorite part is probably meeting my counselor.
She's nice, cool.
They really, really look up to these counselors.
It really is our camper-counselor relationship that keeps kids coming back.
In the mornings we have little group times and you'll walk around camp and there'll be little circles everywhere. They're just sharing about their days, about what they're gonna do.
There is so much intentionality in the ways that we bring people together, and it's magical to be a part of, and it's magical to get to do every day.
We spend a lot of time when we train our staff on what it means to just connect and relate with the kid on their level. So that way when the kids come, they know that they are important, they know that they are special, and that we're crazy about them.
Camp Sonshine is a place where you are going to grow, and you are going to belong, and you are going to become who you were created to be.
You're able to try things out and be bad at it or be really good at it, and you're able to learn things about your creator, which helps you learn who you are.
Having the opportunity to just play every day is a blast.
You become the bug.
There's a lot of playing and make-believing and being crazy and being kids.
I want to be a counselor when I get older.
It's the best job I've ever had.
At the end of the day, it's about relationships, and that's what kids and staff find here at camp.
I want people to go home knowing that they belonged at camp.
I always want them to go home with sparkles in their eyes and happy hearts, knowing that each one of them is special and unique.
Knowing that they are loved.
That they matter.
They are free to be who God created them to be. That's camp.
Are there any other questions?
Are you hiring?
We are full-time staff right now. We're hiring a site and facilities manager. So looking for someone who can tinker and fix things and maintain things. So that's what we're hiring right now as full-time. And then summer staff, we are actively hiring. We'll hire about 100 college-age students this summer to work at camp. So.
What was the number of kids you had this last summer?
We were too shy of 4,000. And if I would have known that, I would have gone and offered it to a couple more people, just, but didn't pull that till after, so, yeah.
Should have got the 3 from the 92,000 to 3. No.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Is that something that could be adapted for some, like, older people? I go to a stroke camp. It's 3 days, about like Friday, Saturday, Sunday type deal. And they only have about 20 people to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There, a couple other hospitals are looking to put something together for the local area on there.
Yeah.
Something like that might work.
Yeah, I have brochures that have our contact details because we have a thing on our website. If you have like a camp or an event that you're looking to do, you fill that out. And then I have a office help admin that will get back to you on, yeah, like availability and kind of coordinate what would work. So I'll have these if you guys want those in you.
Do you have scholarships?
We do a lot of scholarships, yeah. Yeah, we have a scholarship fund, and as money comes in, we give that out to students to come. So,
And that's on your site that they can go. Okay.
Yeah. Good questions.
So much.
Yeah.
What a great story. Appreciate you coming today and sharing all of it. And I think it's a great testament to just being an entrepreneur. Like maybe you and your husband don't see yourselves as that, but when you like all the things you say are things that we talk to our clients and members about. Like you talked about testing this, and that didn't work, and we stayed true to who we were. We didn't buy that big property at the time because it just didn't work for us. So I hope if somebody hasn't told you that, I hope you see that that is like that's the spirit of I think of all who we all are. So thank you for sharing that. So we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you so much. So Trisha will probably be around for a few minutes. She has cards up here. Next week will be open networking. So please come and we'll sit around and we'll talk about some topics, and then we will have one more perk up, two more perk ups before we will take a break for this calendar year. Can you even believe that? I have a hard time believing when my November calendar popped over. So yes, so that's where we're at right now. So we will actually have 3 more perk ups before the end of the year. So yes, Jody.
Do you have any books that you, I mean, if you're a reader, do you have any books that, okay, I really, this one?
Oh man, so many. But we're doing EOS. So we've been reading, I just read that book again because I need to get better at using the system. So I really enjoy that, but just like a lot of different leadership type books.
That's part of the momentum.
Yeah.
The momentum series is part of the traction model modified for what Stan and Scott are doing.
Yeah.
Have you done Process yet? You used that book?
No.
Okay. It's part of what Stan doing is helping develop their processes and having some electronic versions of that. So tracking them. That's the book we did before.
Yeah.
Another book in that traction series is called Process.
Okay.
He's probably using the content from that.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a book club that meets every Tuesday. So we have done 2 books out of the Traction book series. So one was Rocket Fuel, and I don't know how your leadership dynamic works, but it talks about having the person who's the visionary and the integrator, and how when that partnership is perfect, then you have Rocket Fuel. So it talks about that, and then the process was how important those processes are, and we can all say they're so important to be developed, but sometimes it's hard to pitch that, and then it's also hard to get people on board with that because they may see a process, we talked about this in book club, and what they see is not how it's going to better your organization, but that I'm going to lose my job or I'm going to lose part of my responsibilities or something like that.
Or if they're the visionary, they don't like the detail side of it, so they don't want to be a part of the process.
Right.
The process frees you up to be the visionary.
Yeah. So it would be a great, and it's a short read, but it would be a great book for you to take a look at.
We just did the 5 dysfunctions of a team. That was really, really good for us as we're all like working together. So we have about 8 on our full-time staff. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we'll see everybody next week, hopefully.